Have you ever met someone who walks into a room, and suddenly, everything feels warmer? Not because they said anything. Not because they tried. But simply because of who they are. That's Leo energy. And it's not just charisma. It's something deeper. Something you can feel in your chest. Like sunlight hitting your skin after days of rain. But here's the shocking part. Most people think they understand Leos. They say Leos are loud. Attention-seeking. Dramatic. But what if I told you? That's only the surface? What if behind the boldness, there's a deep emotional world no one talks about? In this video, we're diving into 18 hidden truths about Leo. Not the stuff you read in horoscopes, but the real, raw, powerful layers that shape how Leos think, feel, and love. This is for you if you're a Leo. If you love a Leo. Or if you're just curious about the fire that lives inside us all. And hey, if this resonates, hit that subscribe button. Like this video. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. Because what you're about to discover is not just about Leo. It's about all of us. Let's begin. Have you ever had a conversation with someone who just gets you? Without needing you to say much? Someone who looks at you, and somehow, you feel seen? That's something Leos are surprisingly gifted at. People often miss it because they're distracted by the outer shine, by the confidence, the humor, the strong voice. But underneath it all, Leos have a deep emotional radar. They pick up on the subtle shifts in tone, the quiet pauses between your words, the way your shoulders sag just a little more than usual. They notice. And more than that, they feel it. Leos might be fire signs, but their fire isn't just about drama or boldness. It's warmth. Emotional warmth. They're the kind of people who will stay on the phone with you for hours. Just so you don't feel alone. Who'll show up unexpectedly with your favorite coffee, not because you asked, but because they could sense you needed it. That kind of attentiveness doesn't come from ego. It comes from heart. And when a Leo loves you, they give that part of themselves freely. Their empathy may not look like tears and silence. It often looks like laughter, light, and the unspoken promise, you've got this, and I've got you. That might sound idealized, but it's real. I've seen it in the Leo friend who always organizes surprise birthday parties. Not for praise, but because they love making others feel special. I've seen it in the Leo mother who hides her own exhaustion to make her child laugh. These moments may seem small, but they come from an inner emotional intelligence that's rarely acknowledged in Leos. They don't always need you to explain. They feel it before you speak. And here's the thing that makes it even more powerful, Leos crave recognition. Not because they're shallow, but because they long to feel like their presence matters. Their heart is wired to give, and when it's received with genuine appreciation, they thrive. Psychologically, this need speaks to something all of us carry. The desire to be seen, valued, celebrated. But unlike many people who suppress that desire, Leos wear it openly. They remind us that it's okay to want to be appreciated. That needing love doesn't make you weak, it makes you human. When a Leo feels unseen or ignored, it cuts deeper than we imagine. That's when their light dims, their voice falters, their usual spark fades. Not because they're attention-starved, but because they're purpose-driven. The fire in a Leo doesn't burn just to be admired. It burns to warm others, to give hope, to create joy. So when that energy isn't met or reflected, it's not vanity that hurts, it's the feeling of disconnection. That's why your genuine praise, your honest thank you, your "you made my day," it all means more to a Leo than you know. And it's a good reminder for all of us, too, appreciation is not a luxury. It's a human need. Leos aren't afraid of the spotlight, but what many people don't see is why they seek it. It's not just to be seen, it's to give others permission to shine. A Leo standing tall in their truth says to the world, it's safe to be bold. It's okay to take up space. Have you ever watched someone on stage or at the center of a room, speaking with such heart that you found yourself believing in your own voice, too? That's Leo energy at its purest. It's leadership through presence, through embodiment, through being the kind of person who says, with every gesture, "Come with me." You can shine too. But the spotlight is a double-edged sword. Because when you stand in it long enough, your flaws become public. And Leos feel that vulnerability deeply. Behind the confidence is often a quiet fear. What if I show you who I really am? And you don't like it? That's why they sometimes keep their pain hidden. Behind the laughter. Behind the strong opinions. Behind the perfectly curated image. Because beneath it all, there's a heart that's still afraid of being misunderstood. That's the hidden tension many Leos carry. A push and pull between boldness and fear. Between expression and exposure. So what does that mean for the rest of us? It means that when a Leo lets you in, truly in, it's not just affection. It's trust. And we owe it to them to hold that trust with care. The next time a Leo tells you about their dreams, their fears, or even something as simple as what lights them up, don't just nod. Listen. Reflect it back. Remind them their voice matters. The more a Leo feels seen in their truth, the more they rise into their highest self. And here's where things get even more powerful. Leos have the kind of presence that stabilizes people. Think about the moments in life when everything felt uncertain. Maybe you were going through a breakup, or losing a job, or dealing with anxiety that just wouldn't go away. Now picture someone who walked into that storm and brought steadiness. A voice of calm. A warm laugh. A feeling that, somehow, things would be okay. That's Leo. Not because they have all the answers, but because they hold the emotional center. Like the sun that never disappears, even when clouds cover the sky. And this steadiness isn't forced. It's who they are. Leos don't need to say much to make you feel safe. Their grounded energy does the talking. In psychology, we call this emotional regulation. The ability to manage your own emotions in a way that soothes others. Leos, often unknowingly, do this just by showing up. By holding eye contact. By staying present. By offering warmth without condition. That's not just charisma. That's emotional leadership. And it's rare. Now, mix that stability with a deep connection to joy, and you get the Leo inner child. Still alive. Still curious. Still playful. Many adults lose that spark. They get weighed down by life, responsibility, fear of judgment. But Leos, they keep it. They laugh loudly. They dance when no one else is dancing. They tell silly jokes that light up a heavy room. It's not immaturity, it's bravery. It's the courage to stay open. To stay hopeful. To let life move through them fully. And that joy, it's contagious. If you've ever been around a Leo who laughs with their whole heart, you know what I mean. It's not just entertaining, it's healing. Because it reminds you that life is still beautiful. That play still matters. That even in the middle of chaos, we can still find something to smile about. Leos teach us that joy isn't a byproduct of life going well, it's a choice. A way of moving through the world that says, I'm still here. And I still believe in light. And maybe, just maybe, that's what we all need a little more of right now. Not just inspiration, but permission. To feel deeply. To love fully. To shine unapologetically. And that, more than anything, is what Leo shows us. There's something sacred about loyalty when it comes from a Leo. It's not casual. It's not conditional. It's a deep-rooted decision. When a Leo chooses you, they really choose you. They stand by you in ways that go far beyond words. It could be showing up at your door in the middle of the night. Defending you when you're not even in the room. or holding space for you when you feel like the world is falling apart. Loyalty, for a Leo, is a form of love. It's a declaration that says, "You're safe with me." And this kind of loyalty doesn't happen by accident. It comes from their core belief that people deserve to feel secure in relationships. You might see them as fierce or proud on the outside, but underneath, there's a protective heart that refuses to abandon the people they care about. In psychology, we talk a lot about secure attachment. Leos often embody this without trying. When they're healthy, they give you consistency, warmth, a steady presence that calms your nervous system and makes you feel held. That's rare. That's powerful. But it's also fragile. Because once you break that trust, it's hard to repair. Leos don't just give loyalty, they expect it. Not out of control, but out of shared respect. And when it's not mutual, the hurt cuts deep. So if you have a Leo in your life who stood by you through the highs and the lows, take a moment to really appreciate that. Let them know it hasn't gone unnoticed. Because their loyalty isn't just an act, it's who they are. What's even more beautiful is that Leos don't just give loyalty. They give light. They go out of their way to help you shine. Some people climb alone, but Leos? They look back and say, "Come with me." Whether it's helping you prepare for an interview, encouraging you to start that business, or just reminding you of your worth on a hard day, Leos are built to uplift. And they do it with such joy, like your success is their success too. There's something so healing about that. In a world that often celebrates competition, Leos show us what collaboration really looks like. They're not afraid of your light. In fact, they want to add to it. They see your potential, even when you can't. And they'll keep reminding you until you start believing it too. That's not just kindness, it's purpose. It's the understanding that when we help others rise, we rise with them. So if you've been holding back your dreams, thinking you're not enough, remember what a Leo would tell you. They'd look you in the eye and say, "You've had it all along." And maybe that's what makes them such powerful catalysts. They know how to breathe life into your vision. They know how to spot that one spark in you and turn it into a flame. And here's the secret, they don't do it because they have to. They do it because it brings them joy. Watching people evolve, watching people step into their power, it feeds their spirit. That's not about ego. That's about heart. Now, behind that heart is something even more compelling, dignity. Leos carry themselves with a kind of inner grace that's hard to miss. They know who they are. They don't need constant approval. And they rarely chase after people who don't value them. That strong sense of self-esteem, it's not arrogance. It's alignment. It's self-respect. And it's something we can all learn from. Because here's the truth, in relationships, in work, in life, when you know your worth, everything changes. You stop overgiving to people who drain you. You stop shrinking to fit into places that don't see your brilliance. Leos teach us that it's okay to say no. To walk away when you're not honored. To protect your energy without apology. That kind of confidence isn't loud. It's quiet. Steady. Deep. It's the voice inside that says, "I don't need to prove anything. I just need to be myself." And you can feel that in the way they move through the world. They don't over-explain. They don't beg to be chosen. They choose themselves first. And in doing so, they create space for others to do the same. That's why being around a Leo often makes you feel more courageous. More grounded. More yourself. It's not about putting on a show. It's about showing up, fully and unapologetically. And that kind of presence is magnetic. You feel it when they walk into a room. You feel it when they speak. You feel it even when they're silent, but their energy speaks volumes. That's the power of self-worth. Not just for Leos. For all of us. But perhaps what's most extraordinary is how naturally they pass that power on. Because Leos don't just want to succeed, they want everyone they love to rise with them. They're not interested in being the only star in the sky. They want to light the entire constellation. And that's rare. That's revolutionary. So if you've ever felt like you're too much, too loud, too passionate, too ambitious, maybe you just haven't been in the right room yet. Maybe you need to be around people, like Leos, who see your fire and say, turn it up. People who don't shrink from your power but celebrate it. Because when we do that for each other, something shifts. We start remembering who we are. And that is what Leo energy is really about. Not dominance. Not control. But inspiration. It's the spark that reminds others they can shine too. It's the fire that warms, not burns. And it's the love that lifts, not binds. It's the kind of leadership the world desperately needs right now. And just when you think we've uncovered all the gold, the next few truths might surprise you even more. Because in the next part of this video, we'll explore 3 of the most controversial and profound layers of Leo energy, where shadows meet strength, and where truth meets transformation. You won't want to miss it. Have you ever been in a moment where everything feels like it's falling apart, and then someone walks in with nothing but hope in their eyes? They don't have to say much. They just bring a kind of light with them. That's Leo optimism. It's not just a positive attitude. It's a belief system. A deep inner knowing that no matter how heavy life gets, there's always a way forward. Leos don't just look on the bright side, they create it. Even when things seem impossible, they believe there's still something worth fighting for. And that kind of mindset, it changes people. It shifts the energy of an entire room. Because when you're around someone who believes in the future, you start believing too. Not because everything suddenly becomes easy, but because you remember your strength. That's what Leos do. They remind you of what's still possible. They don't let pain define the narrative. Instead, they ask, what's next? That question, so simple, so bold, is often exactly what we need to hear. You'll notice it in how they talk. Even during a breakup, a failure, a setback, they'll say something like, it's okay, I'll figure it out, or this isn't the end, it's a redirection. And they mean it. They're not pretending. They're practicing. This mindset is a muscle they've learned to use. Because somewhere deep down, Leos have made a choice. They've decided not to be defeated by life. And when you live that way, you become a lifeline for others. You become the one people turn to when they need to feel hope again. And that's why their presence has such an impact. Even in silence, Leos radiate energy. You feel them. In a meeting, in a family dinner, in a group of friends, they don't need to dominate the space. But their presence holds weight. It says, you're safe here. It says, I've got you. And what's more, it says, you've got this. That kind of presence doesn't come from ego. It comes from knowing. Knowing who they are. Knowing what they stand for. And knowing how to hold space for others without needing to fix everything. You might remember a time when you were nervous, maybe right before a speech or a big decision, and a Leo just looked at you and smiled. That look said everything. It said, you're going to crush it. No speech. No advice. Just presence. That's power. That's leadership. And that's something the world desperately needs more of. What's fascinating is that this strength isn't loud. It's rooted in dignity. Leos have this quiet confidence that doesn't ask for permission. They don't need constant applause. They're proud of who they are. And they carry themselves accordingly. It's in the way they walk into a room. The way they speak with clarity. The way they say no without guilt. It's not arrogance. It's self-awareness. And it's something many of us struggle with. Because let's be honest, most people weren't taught to love themselves out loud. But Leos, they do. And it challenges us. It makes us wonder, what if I stopped apologizing for existing? What if I stood a little taller? What if I trusted my worth without needing anyone else to confirm it? That's the gift of Leo dignity. It doesn't scream. It doesn't demand. It invites. It invites you to show up as your full self. To stop shrinking. To stop dimming your light to make others comfortable. It says, shine. Because why not? And this confidence, this deep-rooted self-respect, it doesn't just serve them. It serves everyone around them. Because when someone in the room is secure, everyone else can relax. You don't have to guess who they are. You don't have to walk on eggshells. You can just be. And that freedom, it's priceless. But what makes Leos truly unique is that they don't keep that light for themselves. They want to share it. They want to help others shine. Think about the last time you doubted yourself. Maybe you wanted to apply for something big, but fear got in the way. A Leo would look at you and say, "You're overthinking. Just go for it." And something about the way they say it, it lands. It sticks. Because they're not just hyping you up. They believe in you. And they help you believe. 2. It's a kind of magic, really. A Leo doesn't just see who you are now. They see who you could be. And they hold that vision for you, even when you can't. They'll remind you. Push you. Support you. Not because they want credit, but because that's who they are. Their joy isn't just in being the center. It's in building a circle where everyone gets to shine. That's why when a Leo loves you, your whole life levels up. You start dreaming bigger. Speaking louder. Standing taller. Because suddenly, you're not alone in your journey. You've got a fire behind you. Cheering you on. And that fire doesn't fade. It stays. It shows up. Day after day. And the truth is, we all need that. We all need someone who believes in us when we've forgotten how. Someone who refuses to let us settle. Someone who sees greatness where we only see doubt. That's Leo. That's the gift they give, again and again. So if you've been second-guessing your path, if you've been shrinking your dreams to fit someone else's comfort zone, take this as your sign. You're allowed to want more. You're allowed to take up space. You're allowed to shine, just as you are. And if you've got a Leo in your life, tell them thank you. Not just for what they do, but for who they are. For the fire they keep burning. For the light they so generously share. Because in a world full of noise, distraction, and doubt, they are a reminder of what it means to live with heart. But we're not done yet. Not even close. Because the final 3 truths about Leo, they take us even deeper. Into the shadows. Into the contradictions. And into the parts of Leo energy that just might change how you see everything. What comes next is not just powerful, it's personal. Stay with me. There's something powerful about a Leo's ability to sense truth. Not just facts. Not just logic. But truth, the kind that lives beneath the surface. You can't lie easily to a Leo. They may not call you out right away, but they'll feel it. That shift in tone. That pause in your voice. That subtle look in your eyes. Leos read people with an instinct that's hard to explain. It's not because they're suspicious. It's because they care deeply about authenticity. And maybe that's what makes them seem intimidating at times. When you're around someone who values truth, it forces you to show up real. No masks. No pretending. Just who you are. It can feel vulnerable, even uncomfortable. But it's also freeing. Because once you drop the act, you realize they weren't looking for perfection. They were looking for you. Your rawness. Your honesty. Your soul. In relationships, this gift becomes even more meaningful. Leos want depth. They want connection. And they can tell when someone's just going through the motions. They'll pick up on emotional distance, even when you smile. And here's the beautiful part, they won't shame you for it. They'll offer a space where you can open up. Slowly. Safely. With no pressure to have it all figured out. You see it in friendships, too. The Leo who sits quietly while you vent. The one who gives you that one sentence that pierces right to the heart of what you're feeling. They may not always be soft with their words, but they are real. And in a world full of filters, that kind of honesty is a breath of fresh air. But it goes deeper. Leos aren't just good at sensing truth, they're also visionaries. They don't live in the past. They're always a few steps ahead. Always thinking about what could be. Always asking, what's next? They're not content with staying where they are. They want to grow. To evolve. To create something meaningful. And that vision, it's contagious. Have you ever shared a dream with someone and expected them to laugh or doubt you, but instead, they lit up? That's Leo energy. They don't just listen. They see it with you. Sometimes more clearly than you see it yourself. And once they believe in your vision, they'll hold it with you until you're strong enough to carry it alone. This is why so many Leos end up leading movements, building companies, writing stories that change lives. Because they aren't afraid to dream big. They don't wait for the world to catch up, they move forward anyway. Even if they're misunderstood. Even if they fail. They'll try again. And again. Because the fire inside them burns for more than success. It burns for purpose. And that purpose shows up in the way they move. With determination. With courage. With a refusal to settle. Leos have this relentless drive. Once they set their mind on something, it's like nothing can stop them. They'll study. Train. Build. Fail. And keep going. Their resilience doesn't come from being fearless, it comes from knowing who they are. And that knowing makes them unstoppable. You might see it in the Leo who works late into the night because they believe in their project. Or the one who takes care of their family without complaint, because they feel called to do so. Or the one who keeps loving after heartbreak, because they refuse to give up on love. That kind of determination isn't flashy. It's sacred. And it teaches us something essential. That progress isn't about never falling. It's about rising over and over, because you believe in where you're going. And belief, for a Leo, is not wishful thinking. It's a choice. A muscle. A practice. They choose to believe in themselves, in others, and in the world, even when it's hard. Even when it hurts. That's why they achieve the things others only dream of. Because they don't stop at dreaming. They do the work. They take the risk. They show up. And when things go wrong, and they will, Leos don't crumble. They adapt. They find another path. They face uncertainty with a strange kind of calm. Like they already knew challenges would come, but trusted themselves to figure it out. That's the magic of their vision. It's not rigid. It's alive. It changes shape as they grow. And it invites others to do the same. When you're around a Leo who's in their zone, fully aligned, fully driven, you can't help but feel inspired. Not by what they've done, but by who they've become. And what fuels all of this is honesty. Leos are known for being direct. They won't sugarcoat. They won't hide what they really feel. And at first, that can be a little intense. Especially if you're not used to that kind of clarity. But the more time you spend with them, the more you realize it's a gift. Because with Leo, you never have to guess. You don't have to wonder where you stand. They'll tell you. Not to hurt you, but to honor the connection. They'd rather have an honest, messy conversation than pretend everything's fine when it's not. And yes, their honesty can sting. But it can also set you free. It can clear the air. It can open the door to growth, to healing, to understanding. In a world where so many people hold back, Leos show us what it means to speak from the heart. Not to impress. Not to manipulate. But to connect. That's why their words carry so much weight. Because you know they're not trying to be liked. They're trying to be real. And that kind of truth, spoken with love, is one of the most powerful forces in the world. If you've ever been called out by a Leo, you probably remember it. Not because it hurt, but because it hit something true. And if you've ever been encouraged by one, you remember that too. Because it wasn't empty praise. It was real belief. Honest words. Straight from the heart. And that's what makes them rare. Not just the fire, but the integrity. Not just the voice, but the soul behind it. So what happens when a person has vision, resilience, and truth all woven together? The answer lies in what's coming next. Because the final 3 truths about Leo go even deeper. Into the wounds they carry. The healing they offer. And the kind of love that most people aren't ready for, but everyone truly needs. You'll want to hear this. Have you ever met someone who just knows how to make you feel special? Not by doing anything extravagant. Not by saying all the right things. But just by being fully present with you. Leos have a gift for that. They notice the small things. The way you light up when you talk about something you love. The way you shrink a little when you feel insecure. And they respond, intuitively, warmly, without hesitation. They remember your favorite song. They compliment you on something you didn't think anyone noticed. They encourage you in that exact moment when your doubt is louder than your dreams. And it's not for show. It's not for praise. It's simply who they are. When a Leo loves, they love out loud. They don't hide it. They don't hold back. They want the people in their life to know they matter. And that's why their presence feels so rare. Because in a world that often feels distracted and distant, Leos choose connection. Real, heartfelt, eye contact kind of connection. They don't just see you, they show you that you're seen. And for someone who's been overlooked or dismissed, that can be life-changing. But this isn't just about attention. It's about healing. It's about restoring the parts of us that were taught we had to earn love. Leos love generously. And that love, when received, reminds us that we are worthy. As we are. No performance. No perfection. Just us. And maybe that's what leads us here, to the final, most misunderstood truth about Leo. That at their core, beneath the fire, beneath the confidence, beneath the roar, is a heart that is built to love. Deeply. Fiercely. Fully. And when a Leo gives that love to someone, it's not casual. It's not temporary. It's soul level. They love with everything they've got. They protect. They commit. They show up. Not just on the good days, but especially on the hard ones. When you feel broken. When you feel unlovable. That's when a Leo leans in closer. That's when they remind you of your strength. Of your light. Of the parts of you that are still whole. It's not always easy to receive that kind of love. Because it holds a mirror. It asks you to rise. To believe in yourself the way they believe in you. It can feel intense. Overwhelming. But also, exactly what your soul has been waiting for. And this kind of love? It doesn't fade. Even if the relationship changes. Even if time moves on. A Leo's love leaves an imprint. On your heart. On your growth. On your journey. You carry it with you. Long after the conversations. Long after the touch. It becomes part of your healing. So if you're loved by a Leo, truly loved, honor it. Protect it. Show up for it. Because what they're offering isn't just affection. It's transformation. It's a kind of love that teaches you how to love yourself better, too. And if you are a Leo, I hope you heard something in this video that made you feel seen. Because behind every strength, behind every bold move, behind every moment you've lifted others, you deserve to know that you, too, are deeply needed. Your light is not just impressive. It's healing. Your heart is not just generous. It's powerful. You are not too much. You are a mirror for others to remember their own greatness. So maybe that's the true gift of Leo. Not just to shine, but to help others remember they can shine, too. If you saw yourself in these words, if something in your heart said yes, I'd love for you to subscribe. Because this space is for you. For your truth. For your growth. And for all the parts of you you're still learning to love. Share this video with someone who needs to hear it. Someone who's forgotten their power. Or someone who's always lifted others but doesn't realize how rare they are. And if you're curious about the deeper truths of each zodiac sign, their light, their shadows, and their hidden wisdom, stick around. There's so much more coming. Because the stars don't just tell us who we are. They remind us of who we're becoming. And I'll be here every step of the way, with stories to guide you home.